Hi there. This is a little video workshop in chord variations, and I want to show you some chords you might not be familiar with, building on, I'm hoping you already have a basic knowledge of common chords on the guitar and how the scale, the diatonic scale works. So I'm going to first of all review three common chords types with you: major, minor, and dominant seventh in two keys, A and E. The reason I picked these two is that if you learn to bar chords, the shapes that people use most often are the E shape. Here's E major, and there's the same chord shape barred on the 3rd fret, which makes it G major, A, B, and so on. Or the A shape, which also can be easily barred like this, or this way. So once you learn the variations I'm showing you with the A and the E major chord shapes, you can play in any key. You just have to find the place on the fretboard that relates to that key. So for example, once you've learned the chords I'll be showing you, if you want to play in B, you bar up here, use the E shape, or you bar on the 2nd fret and do the same thing. So I'm going to, in the second part of this video, I'm going to show you the actual fingering for each chord using an incredible technological system I've invented called pennies and pencils, where I use pennies to mark the places where you're going to be putting your fingers, and the black lines represent the 6 strings and the light green lines represent the frets. So I hope that works for you. In this first part I'm going to demonstrate each chord to you and explain quickly how they fit in with the scales, and then I'll show you how to finger the chords with the penny and pencil system. Okay, so first of all, E major. Nice full sounding chord. E minor. You take your finger off the G sharp. So now your notes are E, B, E, G. And E dominant seventh, which there are two common ways of doing. You can finger the E shape and then add the D here. It's a flatted seventh technically. All that means is that in the scale of E, you go down one full tone from E itself and you get a D, and that's the tone, the note that makes it a dominant seventh. You can do it this way, or the simpler way is to take your 3rd finger off here and open up the D there. So you can do it either way you like. But if you're going to be bar chording, then it makes sense to use this fingering. Alright, now how about A? So here's A major. The notes are, the root note is A, E, A, C sharp, and then another E, E at the top. A minor, you drop down the C sharp to a C. It gives that sad, incomplete feeling that goes with minor chords. And then A dominant seventh, again there's two common ways to do it. Keep the A pattern and just add the G. The G is one full tone below A, and that's why it makes it the dominant seventh when you add that G. Or you can just finger these two notes, the E and the C sharp, and leave the G open here. Very common chord in blues. Okay, so that was a quick review of the major, minor, and dominant seventh in two keys, E and A. Now how about the fancier chords? So first on our list is the major seventh. Major seventh is an interesting chord because it sounds right in between a major and a minor. here is E major, and here is E major sevenths. You drop the E down to a D sharp, which gives it that slightly altered feeling. And quite a nice chord, used a lot in some pop songs and in jazz, obviously, and things like that. Now with the A, this, you just drop the A here on the G string down a half a tone to get the G sharp, and here's the sound of the full chord. Kind of sunny, you know, but not as happy as a full major chord. A major, A major seventh. And obviously once you've got those chords down, you can bar them. For example, here is a D major seventh played up here. Not doing too well on that, but you get the idea. Okay, minor seventh. There you start with the minor chord. So here's E minor. And then you add the dominant seventh, or the flatted seventh, the note that's a scale full tone below E, and that's a D. And you get that sound. So there's E minor seventh. This is a chord that's used a lot in some rock music. For example, two musicians or groups I can tell you use it often are Neil Young, for one, like that, or Pink Floyd. So E minor seventh is the E minor plus the D. Or you can finger it this way. You can just finger the B on the A chord, and then you've got E, B, D, G, which are the notes of E major seventh. E minor seventh, pardon me. Okay, and then the sixth and the ninth chord, I'm just going to show you the major versions to keep this simple. If you want to try the minor version, you just finger the minor chord and then add the note in question. So for E6, the sixth note would be going down the scale from E. D sharp is the seventh, and excuse me, C sharp is the sixth. So you need to take your E major and add the C sharp here, second fret, second string. Slightly different feeling, right? Still kind of happy and positive, but a little more dreamy or indirect or something. So that's E major sixth. Now in A, G sharp is the seventh in the scale, and therefore F sharp is going to be the sixth. So you can just bar across the highest four strings on the second fret, and there's your F sharp. And that's an easy one to bar up here. Of course, lots of people, rock musicians especially, cheat and just use this as a straight A or B style chord, but don't play the top string. But if you want the full sixth effect, then you sound all the notes in it. The ninth note in the scale is one above the octave of the root note. So in E, that would be F sharp. So here's E major, here's F sharp. Just lifts the whole chord up a bit. It's still pretty much the same chord, but it adds a slightly different feeling. And then with A, you need a B. So one way to do that is just finger it like this. Take your little pinky off the B, and there you have an A. Now, with any chord, I should add, if you don't already know this, there's any number of ways and positions on the guitar that you can play that chord. I'm just showing you the simplest one. So that was A major and A ninth. Now the last chord I'm going to show you sounds complicated. It's called the suspended fourth. And I won't get into the theory as to why it's called that, but you'll recognize the sound because people use this all the time, particularly in rock. So the suspended fourth means you just go up a half tone on one of the notes in the chord. So here's E major again, and there's the G sharp. So I take my pinker and I go up to a full G. No, sorry, that's not a full G, that's a full A. Up to an A. And it gives that sound. And so you hear this kind of riff a lot. So that was E suspended fourth. Now A suspended fourth, you also just go up one on the B string to bring in a D. So you're going from the third note in the scale, which is C sharp, to a D, and you get that sound. And I said I would just stick to two keys in this, and that's what I tried to do. But let me just point out that this suspended fourth is used a lot with the D because it's such an easy thing to do, and it gives a nice sort of alternation when you're playing something in D major like this. Of course, I'm dropping my second finger off the D also to go down to an E occasionally, but the effect is basically just this. So that is an example of a suspended fourth. So I hope this has been helpful, and stay tuned for the second part of this, as you'll see how to finger these notes using the penny and pencil system. Okay, now I'm going to go through the same chords again with my little pencil and penny diagram, just showing you where your fingers go to make these chords. So to review, E major, it's open E, B, E, and G sharp, so that shape. E minor, you want the G instead of the G sharp, just take a finger off. So a simple chord and one that's easy to bar. E dominant seventh, there's E major again. You can do one of two ways. You can take your finger off the D, and that gives you your dominant seventh note in E. So just those two fingers, again, an easy one to bar. Or you want a different sound, you can keep the E major shape and add the D here, so you get a high D. And I demonstrated those when I was playing the guitar. Okay, so we've got E major, E minor, E dominant seventh. How about A? So there's A major. Second fret on the D string gives you E. Second fret on the G string gives you A. Second fret on the B gives you C sharp. To get A minor, you just move that down a half a tone or one fret. There's the A minor shape. And to get A dominant seventh, there's two ways to do it. Drop this out so your G is here, or if you want a high G, keep that fingering and put your pinky up there. So that's A dominant seventh, A minor, and A major. Okay, so let's move on to our fancier chords. Remember what they were. So major seventh, E major seventh. Let's start with the E major shape again. Is there. The black strings that you probably, black lines you probably figured out are the strings, the light green lines are the frets. So we need to drop the E down a half tone, so there's your shape for E major seventh. Now in A, we would start out here, A major, drop this A down to G sharp, and that's a simple, easy to finger way to play A major seventh. And of course, if you bar it, put your bar here and move these up, keeps the shape, you get a nice sound. Okay, so let's talk about the minor sevenths. So first of all, E minor. Now, how do you get the seventh added and still having a minor chord? Well, you keep the minor shape, and remember our dominant seventh or flatted seventh is D, because that's one tone below E, the root note, or the octave. So E minor seventh can add a D there, which gives a nice kind of high sound to complete the chord. Or you can simply do this, just finger the fifth string on the second fret for the B, and now you've got E, B, D, G, which is the notes of the E minor seventh chord. Now for A minor, there's the A minor shape. Again, you can add the G like that, or you can drop those fingers and just go with this shape with the root note A. That's A minor seventh, and as I said, an easy one to bar. Now the sixth, so let's go back to E. Here's the E major shape again. The sixth would be this note here, C sharp. In the scale of E, you go at the end, you go C sharp the sixth, D sharp the seventh, E. So we need to add the C sharp for the sixth, and that's E sixth, E major sixth. It would be a hard one to bar, but then you don't have to play all the notes. You could just play it like that and bar that. Okay, let's go to A sixth. So here's our A chord, and that's the one that's really simple because it's just a bar across the second fret of the top four strings. Now the ninth adds the note that's above the octave. So here's E, the notes being again B, E, G sharp. The ninth would be here. Again, that's going to be a hard one for some people to finger, but you don't have to play the B. You could just play that B. I mean, you've already got a B in the chord here. You could just play these four and don't play the other two. And that gives you your ninth. Okay, and lastly, the sustained fourth. So here's our E. Now if we just add or raise this half a tone, we don't need that one there. That's E major sustained fourth. And remember I said you can get a really nice effect when you're playing the chord just by adding your pinky, bring it up a half tone on the G to get the sustained fourth, drop it back to the major. And then this one, here's our A major. For a sustained fourth, we just do that. So again, you just add a half a tone, and you can either keep the fingering and do it with your pinky, or you can raise your fourth finger up. I hope that's been useful. I know it's a shock to see my old face again, but let me know if you got any comments or questions, and maybe I made a mistake in this. It's quite possible because there's a lot of stuff to remember. Thank you for watching.